Give me that look, Oz. See what happens. Do it again. All right, she did.
stupid questions.
Yeah. Hello, welcome back to the CONVO couch for Feisty Free Fridays. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Oz is on the ones and twos. Fam, you're supposed to go, I'm Feisty Fee. I
don't do tricks, fam.
I know, but I'm not saying doing tricks. You know who doesn't do tricks? Joe Biden. Let's take a look at this just to lighten the mood over here on a Friday. Let's just take a look at Joe's latest blunder.
That quickly? You want to go there that quickly?
Yeah. But I mean, it's just a little snippet. Do you want to talk about some other stuff really quick while people come in so they can see it? Am I jumping?
Yeah, I just felt like you just went like super quick.
Well, it's Ferocious Fee Friday. This wasn't in the doc. This isn't in the section.
No.
This is just a little clip that I figured we have put on. It's not as good as there's one word to describe America. Excuse me. It's not as good as that, but it's good old Joe. Let's take a look.
Power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power. That's another way of saying you, the women of America, can determine the outcome.
Yes, I couldn't hear him though because you started talking.
I don't think the court,
can I hear him?
Or for that matter, Republicans. Power.
Put it up, Oz, please.
It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power. That's another way of saying that you, the women of America, can determine the outcome of this issue. I don't think the court, or for that matter, Republicans.
I don't think RT would hire Joe Biden to be a news anchor.
Repeat the line. He's fam, we don't want any blunders like that out at RT, okay? and it's like Ron Burgundy is like Joe Biden. He reads everything on that teleprompter. When I mean everything, Fee, I mean everything.
Next Repeat video, voiceover.
Say this softly, and that's why we're doing it like Joe Biden.
Emphasize word.
I mean, really, that's, ladies and gentlemen, 81 million with an M votes. Million votes. Guys, thank you so much for joining in today. Do us a good favor. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. We have a great show for you today. It's the Friday Dumb Fam. I'm not going to do newspaper guy because I think we got everything loaded in these docs. Why don't we?
I think we have enough tackiness with Joe Biden, fam.
Okay. That's your 81 million vote president. Greatest record of all time. Sure. Yeah. Anyway.
Joe Biden is tackier than anything the newspaper guy does. I'm telling you. Okay. Don't ever worry about that. So guys, let's go ahead and start. I got to put, my somber voice on. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has died from his gun wounds. He was shot yesterday while he was at a campaign event, and he died from his wounds. Essentially, he wasn't immediately, the media, see, this is interesting how the media frames it because it's someone they like. So the media is in the West is like, oh, he was assassinated. Yes, but he was dead from his wounds, which is like the correct way of actually saying this, right? So he is not a popular guy when it comes to the anti-imperialist world, when it comes to China, North Korea. He's very much in the United States, good graces, and you are going to see exactly how. But of course, the second part of the tweet that I have on slide 9, this alleged attacker that attacked him was a local resident from Nara, the city where he was in. And he was a 41-year-old by the name of Tetsuya Yamagami. And he was detained at the scene. He didn't fight back. He was readily taken in. And he was supposedly a former member of the Japanese Navy. And he had made this gun at home. It was a handmade double-barreled gun, similar to a sawn-off shotgun. So that's the basic details of the case so far. There's a little bit more I'm going to say, but I wanted everybody to see the video before we move on. Yes.
And I also just point out that this, even though he's a former prime minister, it was 2 years ago that he was the prime minister. So this is somebody who's really fresh in Japanese politics, just so you understand the context of that before we move forward. Go ahead, fam.
And he was also the longest serving prime minister as well. And he's part of the Liberal Democratic Party. Again,
family dynasty.
Very dynasty related, very pro-US, very just status quo type in China.
In Japan.
So let's go ahead and watch the video. And of course, warning, these images may be disturbing. Okay, so fam, one of the things you were commenting earlier before the show was that people, when he was shot, people
didn't run away.
Japan has one of the most strict gun laws, right? And this is what the West is politicizing. Oh, this is why guns are bad and blah, blah, blah. That's what Joe Biden is doing right now. The problem with that is that doesn't make any sense because Japan has the strictest gun laws. And so in spite of having that, this still could happen. And so it just doesn't make any sense that you're using this to politicize it in that way. But of course, they're doing it. They're also using this against China to promote anti-China rhetoric. Now, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. There's a longer shot. They even at minutes after the shot, they're still standing around. They're going, just puzzled and confused. It's just a different culture. And yes, it is being politicized too as well. Every single way, anytime anything happens, fam, people politicize it right out the gate. I think they should stop, wait, analyze, and see what's going on before they make opinions. We had a situation last week where there was a player who died, and a football player who died, and both sides were politicizing right away. And it turned out to be something else after a week of, when everything came to fruition. So I think that, the first thing that we need to do too here in the States is stop jumping on the politicization of things to come. Because like you said, the thing that I was just amazed about was how they used this situation for anti-China rhetoric. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And everything, happening around this geopolitically, is going to be impacted in some form or another, by the way, as well. So the current prime minister, Fumio Kishida, condemned the attack, saying it is barbaric and malicious and cannot be tolerated. This is from the BBC. He said, this is an attack of brutality that happened during the elections, the very foundation of our democracy, and it's absolutely unforgivable. And the doctor said he had sustained 2 bullet wounds to his neck, about 1 inch apart, and also suffered damage to his heart. And he was conscious and responsive after the attack, but at 67 years old, he got worse. And then by the time he was transferred to receive a blood transfusion, they didn't have any vitals on him. So he basically died pretty close to reaching the hospital. And this is what the gun double-barreled weapon looks like. There's a picture on slide 13 so you guys can see it. And it's very interesting that it was homemade. Now, the who benefits from this? That's there's a lot of things that you could say who benefits from this. You could say that the anti-imperialists largely benefit from this because this is a guy that was a neoliberal, right-leaning tendencies. He wanted to bring Japan back towards a dynasty era like the Mei dynasty, where the emperor is above all and everybody else is below, and your rights don't matter. And he wanted to go towards that route. Now, his Liberal Party was on the way to winning the election anyway. So you could also argue that he could become a martyr of sorts now, and that the election, which take place this Sunday, is going to be a win for his party just because of this. So it doesn't necessarily benefit people as much as they think it might. So a lot of politicians came out in support of him and, saying how tragic it was. And it's interesting how and why that is. I find that interesting. That tells me that this guy was an establishment accepted politician, because everybody from Donald Trump to Joe Biden were talking about how sad this was. So here's Donald Trump. He said, absolutely devastating news that former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan, a truly great man and leader, he has been shot and is in very serious condition. This is before he died. He was a true friend of mine and, much more importantly, America. This is a tremendous blow to the wonderful people of Japan who loved and admired him so much. We are all praying for Shinzo and his beautiful family.
And by the way, China.
Right, exactly, right. Then there's Barack Obama, longtime warmonger. I am shocked and saddened by the assassination of my friend and longtime partner, Shinzo Abe, in Japan. Former Prime Minister Abe was devoted to both the country he served in, the extraordinary alliance between the United States and Japan. They're telling you why this is important to them. Like Japan has been a huge ally of the United States. If anything, Japan has been subservient to the United States. It's almost like they're not independent enough from the United States. A lot of people argue that they're not really their own sovereign democracy, just like in terms of foreign policy. Yeah. And that the after World War II, of course, we know everything that happened after that, but it's almost like this symbiotic relationship with the United States. And then Joe Biden's statement, again, just talking about how stunned and outraged and deeply saddened by his death, the tragedy for Japan. I had the privilege to work closely with Abe. I visited him in Tokyo. I welcomed him to Washington. He was a champion, there we go again, of the alliance between our nations and the friendship between our people, the longest serving Japanese prime minister. This is important because it kind of tells you the foreign policy that the US is still advocating between Trump, Obama, and Biden has not changed. And each of them have told you essentially what that is, at least in the Indo-Pacific, right? And so they talk about how he worked for the democracy. And then he said, this is the politicizing of the event. And he said, well, there are many details that we do not yet know. We know that violent attacks are never acceptable and that gun violence always leaves a deep scar on the communities that are affected by it. The United States stands with Japan in this moment of grief. I send my deepest condolences to his family. So there you go, putting in gun violence as if they don't have the strictest gun laws, which is why people were like, what's going on? Because it doesn't happen in Japan. And
it just says a lot, once again, even with the strictest gun laws, if somebody wants to kill somebody, they'll find a way.
Yeah. And in Japan is an entirely different culture too. Again, it's more of a collectivist society, more of an Asian Eastern type of society where people do things and think about things in a different way, less individualistic than the United States. And so to top off the foreign policy, directives here, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, he met with the Minister of Japan and the Foreign Minister Hayashi and the Foreign Minister Park in Bali after the meeting between their leaders. He said trilateral cooperation has never been more essential to a free and open Indo-Pacific. So they're naming the Indo-Pacific. This points to the foreign policy outlook they have, which is very anti-China, anti-Russia. It's, pro.
They are the cucks of the American Western empire. End of story. They are always, whatever we say, they do. That's it when it comes to Japan, when it comes to their foreign policy. And nobody and nobody should try to say it any other way. They are always in line with whatever the American Western imperialist apparatus wants to do, fam. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly it. So again, they do whatever the West asks, especially the United States, which is why you see all these accolades coming from warmongers and war criminals of the United States. So Danny Haifong had this tweet out, and he said Shinzo Abe was a far-right hawk. Abe helped place Japan back on the path of militarism on behalf of the United States in its effort to militarily encircle China. Essentially, with the United States under Abe, they worked to continuously attack China and continuously threaten via military bases. And so he says, while his death will inevitably garner sympathies, his governance should not. So this isn't, that he's pointing out the historical context as to why so many people in China have been said to not be unhappy that he's gone. A lot of people are like not a fan of this guy in the East. So there was this part, and I never use the Daily Beast is like a smear merchants, right? But about 5 years ago, they had this article where they did talk about this cult that he was a part of, that Abe was a part of. And this cult in Japan was trying to, like I said, take back the country into a direction of this feudal type of monarchical type of society where the emperor was the exquisite, the all ruler, derived by a higher power to be the one in charge, and everybody else's rights came second or none to that. So this group was called Nippon Kyagi, and it was run by Tadei Takobu, a former journalist turned political scientist, and had only 38,000 members. But it was like it was like a cult, a club, a sect, and started having a lot of political influence in Japan. And Abe had said that the revision of the Constitution of Japan was his goal. And in an interview that year in February in 2014, February of 2014, Abe said, "My party, the Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, has been advocating amending our constitution since its founding of almost 60 years ago, and amending that constitution would take it back to the Mei Dynasty, where it was that type of rule that was very just hierarchical. I would say a hierarchical type of society." And he was also supported by Nazi fascists, or neo-Nazi in this case. And he got into some trouble and criticism when there was neo-Nazi photos he took photos with these political allies of his were far-right figures. One of them was Kazunari Yamada, and they are known as neo-Nazis. So he got into some trouble over that. He is definitely not some sort of heroic type of guy. He was in line with the worst imperialists, and an imperialist himself. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see geopolitically who the U.S. laments and how the media frames it when it's somebody they like and protect.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot more information coming out in the next couple of days about what, behind the scenes, what's going on. But I mean, you can just see this is a political dynasty. I believe his father was a foreign minister. His grandfather was a prime minister. So, I mean, of course, they want to kind of, digress back to some kind of caste system where they're up top and everybody else is down below. It's going to be interesting because I want to get more educated on this whole situation. But just seeing the way that all the politicians came out, the imperialists, it doesn't surprise me that we're starting to learn information about his politics and his history that are not on the best in the best of light, fam.
Yeah, and I think this might actually help his party, the LDP, like I said, because largely Japan was favoring the LDP in these elections. So I don't think it's going to be like, oh, like he's dead now, so they're going to lose and like an anti-imperialist is going to take over. I could be wrong, but I have a hard time believing that that's what would happen because most of Japan is not there politically. They're pretty much like it's the neoliberal order rules over the country. So I think if anything, it's going to increase his chances, the chances of the party gaining more support. Unfortunately, it seems like a good thing on the surface. I just don't, and I don't think it doesn't seem to me like this was anything intelligence operated. It seems like, but I don't know. We don't know yet. It just seems like some guy that really just didn't like him. It is interesting that he was part of the Navy, the former Navy, the equivalent to a Japanese Navy. So you're right. We'll see what comes after this, but it's a very interesting thing to have happened. I think the Marmot did something. Damn.
The Marmot. We're all talking about the Marmot get in. We want to know. I think the Marmot took down the Georgia Guidestones, but that's just my personal opinion. Steve fucking presented that as a scenario, and I tend to agree. Like, yes, Steve, I think that's what it is. The Marmot fucking took down the Georgia Guidestones. And it also
poor
just
Alex Rubinstein.
Yeah.
Poor Alex Rubinstein yesterday.
How was
he
it?
Had to deal with you guys. I have to text him and be like, Alex, how'd you do it, man? How'd you do it?
Jesus Christ. Fam, should I read some super rays before we get to the next section? Or you have anything else to say?
Yes, fam. Go ahead.
Okay,
fam.
So that's that section. We'll learn more in the next couple of days what's going on with Shinzo Abe. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more information. I think it's a great time for people to start getting educating on what's going on in Japan with the government, how they coincide with the imperialist apparatus. I mean, a lot of people understanding the fact that they want to, NATO wants to make sure they expand themselves. Now that they're back on the map and they're getting new members, they want to make sure that they have a grip in that area. And Japan was very key for NATO and for American Western Empire to make sure they spread their wings and always poke the bear and poke the Chinese Beijing government. Hugely fantastical. Thank you so much. Hi, Convo Couch. Thanks for highlighting the already nascent, NASCENT, and negative institutional commentary on the killing of Abe. Nascent? I think he just spelled it wrong. So I think there's supposed to be a IENT. This is a necessary discussion as Japanese politicians seek to push for NATO in East Asia. We were just talking about this. Mm-hmm. Militarizing both its land and the land of others it still possesses, which, without any agreement of those whose lands it possesses, I can't know this word, ENGENDERS.
Endangered? Or are you talking about
endangers its violence? Endangers its violence? I don't know. Wasn't Japan pacifist pre-Abe? I don't know if they were pacifist pre-Abe. I don't know the story of Japan. I got to learn more about it. What happened after World War II? I understand they had mad sanctions and they, I'm saying, they were really much, their economy was crippled. So, I'm saying? We have to learn more about the history of what's going on.
I don't remember if they were pacifists or not. I'd
know.
have to check on that. But I remember learning about the dynasties, and I know that he and his whole family wanted to go back to that form because they're the elite, but which would be the Mei dynasty. But I'm not exactly sure if Japan was. I mean, Japan is trying to be. I mean, they don't want what happened they don't want World War II to happen. But at the same time, they're close allies to the United States. They're not. They have like a sworn loyalty to them, which is extremely ironic. And I don't think everybody in the country agrees with it clearly. But yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Please do us a favor: like, share, and subscribe. And help us out as much as you can. We want to make sure we get all the information out there. Rokfin is our free speech platform. Today we'll be on YouTube for the duration for everything today, right? We have no Rokfin only section today. So thank you to all who's on YouTube. We're almost close to 300. Rob Juno, I see you're up early today. There you go, buddy. Do us a favor, guys. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, all that stuff. Let's get the information out here. Fam, you ready for the next section?
Yeah, let's talk about our good friend, the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson.
Okay. So
who resigned.
Yes, he's out. He's out. You can see it's a beautiful thumbnail. Boris is out 2019 to 2022. This is interesting. Now, we had this in the doc the other day. And the reason why I left it in there is because I think we should look at the lead up to what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. Fam, I can't wait until Monday's show, because on Monday's show, we'll have a chance to talk to our guest about behind the scenes and some of the dark secrets. I think a lot of the perception from the citizens of Great Britain with the fact that the war in Ukraine being so unpopular, and a lot of people, the Brits a little bit more to call out the bullshit than the Americans on the money that's being spent and sent over there. So I think that had something to do with the timing of when they can throw him out. But a lot of the reasons what they have given of why they forced Boris to resign is a little cuckoo. So here it is. By Boris, cabinet members quit on UK leader Boris Johnson after changing story on official accused sexual misconduct. Now, fam, there's so many different things that surround him as far as controversy. We just talked about what's going on in the Ukraine. A lot of the foreign policy, a lot of people are just not down with. Yeah, they're calling it out, but yet they go to this over here. They have this kind of American I don't know.
Because it works.
War fucking mentality. Remember that last time, I didn't want to talk about it again. A lot of pressure he got was from Partygate when he was forcing everybody to quarantine, but yet he was having soirees himself with martinis and cheese and tea after. You know how the Brits like their tea and crumpets. But then it led up to this, and these are the reasons they're giving you for why they're ousting, where they're forcing the Prime Minister to resign. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was fighting for his political survival on Wednesday after a number of high-profile resignations shook the foundations of his government and fueled doubt as to whether he'll be able to hang on as leader of his party and the country. Hours later, he resigned, ladies and gentlemen. The resignations came in response to the latest in a long series of scandals to engulf Johnson. This one involving Chris Pincher. This is what I'm talking about. A former government minister. Pincher, who recently resigned after being accused of groping two men, was appointed as deputy chief whip by Johnson. So he got promoted, who initially claimed he did not know about any previous specific allegations of misconduct against Pincher. Johnson's office changed the official account of what the prime minister knew 2 times over the last week as new information came to light. So let's take a look at the media, fam, about what they were talking leading up to. And this just blows my friggin' mind. This is why they're removing him. All right. You tell me, fam.
Now to the UK, where Prime Minister Boris Johnson is once again under pressure to resign after the latest in a series of scandals. He just spoke to lawmakers in a Q&A in Parliament for the first time since 2 of his cabinet ministers stepped down yesterday. Roxana Sabiri is outside the Prime Minister's residence at 10 Downing Street. Roxana, good morning. Could someone else be living there soon?
Good morning, Nate. That is the big question on many people's minds here today and in the newspapers. The subject made at the front page of most of the papers here. This one reads, Last Chance Saloon.
But frankly, Mr. Speaker, the job of a Prime Minister in difficult circumstances...
Boris is battling back.
...mandate is to keep going.
Refusing to admit his time as Britain's Prime Minister is up, despite 2 dramatic resignations. The first blow came from his Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, who said he could no longer, in good conscience, continue serving in this government. Finance Minister Rishi Sunak soon followed, declaring, the public rightly expect government to be conducted properly, competently, and seriously. The resignations came just minutes after the Prime Minister apologized for appointing lawmaker Christopher Pincher to his government, despite knowing he faced allegations of sexual misconduct in 2019, allegations Pincher denies.
In hindsight, it was the wrong thing to do. I apologize to everybody who's been badly affected by it.
But as a sign that he's not planning to step down anytime soon, Johnson swiftly appointed replacements for his departing minister.
Cut it. Like hours after this, fam, he resigned. So, I mean, I just wanted to kind of lead up to what was going on. You had one guy resign after the other. This is a classic case of we got you, my man. Like they were like, we'll get you out of here. We'll force you out. I mean, once again, in the next coming days, I'm sure we'll learn more what's going on. And I think we should I can't wait until Monday. Who's the guest?
Yeah. So Monday, we're going to have Kit Clarenberg to come on and talk about the intelligence apparatus behind the removal of Boris Johnson and that has been planning to get rid of him. Now, I saw some people on Twitter saying, Boris Johnson was removed because he's not with the pro-Ukrainian agenda. Oh no, he very much is. He very much has been this entire time. In fact, one of his parting gifts was talking about, first and foremost, how pro-Ukrainian he is and how the people of Ukraine need to be supported, instead of talking about, addressing the British public about why he's going. So no, he's definitely part of that. But from a few Brits here, I've heard that a lot of them, at least in the news, who know what's going on, are not thrilled because in spite of them not liking him, they fear that if Priti Patel becomes his replacement, they are quote unquote fucked, is what was said. So, and I agree, because she is worse. She is the epitome of intelligence. I mean, she is in not just in line with British intelligence, but US intelligence. She has lunch with the people that want to extradite Julian Assange. I mean, she is not a good actor. Typical globalist mentality, World Economic Forum type of mentality. This isn't good for the Tories. It's not good for the conservative realm of England, because it just basically threw them in the toilet. So now let's go over some more of this stuff. So I put up this meme, fam, because this is the Assad curse continuing. And by the way, Assad had been a target of Shinzo Abe, who he said he called him a brutal dictator. He said he was, undemocratic. Dude's dead. Boris Johnson has insisted that Assad must go for Syrian suffering to end. And of course, Assad, is still there, and Boris Johnson is going.
He's gone.
So.
Well, I just want to say that I don't think there's going to be much of a difference when they change this government over here. We're going to talk about some of the people who possibly are in line to become the prime minister and what happens next. You can see these are the top candidates to replace Boris Johnson as UK prime minister. And some of these are people were some of the people who quit, and they I'm sure they were given reassurances if they were to resign that they would get a place in the next government. So this was just such an inside job. So it says the race to replace him as both leader of the Conservative Party and as prime minister looks wide open. The top officials in Johnson's government, including recently resigned Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, are likely to run, and Johnson's rivals like former Secretary Jeremy Hunt are also expected to enter the race. This is how it works. Thank you, Oz. On the bottom of this right here, the first stage of leadership election will begin with the 358 Conservative members of Parliament voting to narrow a list of declared candidates down to 2. Then 180,000 or so of dues-paying members of the Conservative Party will vote to elect the next leader. So it seems like a very aristocratic way of doing things, but that's how they're going to pick the next prime minister. It should take up to a couple months to get this done. So Boris will be a lame duck for several months. So he's not done yet. He's not yanked off. It's not going to be like a comedy show where they grab the cane and they yank him off. And like I said, I don't think there's going to be much that change, especially when it comes to foreign policy. The next guy is going to be anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine.
Yep.
They're not going to stop the funding of the weapons, whatnot. So even though they use the timing of the unpopularity of the war and Boris's backing of it to oust him, because a lot of people are like, yeah, good riddance, that fundamental part of the foreign policy is not going to change, especially with the Tories remaining in power. It's not going to happen. Our relationship with them ain't going to change either, fam. Do you want to say anything before we play Karine?
Yeah, it's not going to change. I think it's going to get worse. because if a more warmongerish, bloodthirsty, ambitious, career climbing Tory replaces him, it's going to be, I think it's going to get worse, because he was at least kind of like Trump in the sense he was very blunt and obvious about what he did. And so people didn't like him. So they were able to criticize him. If they get like a proper conservative that is more eloquent and is more able to use a lot of the fluff of language, just like it is with the Democratic Party or with the neocon, that's a status quo typical establishment. I think it could be potentially worse, but as far as geopolitically, foreign policy wise, it's going to be more of the same. I agree.
And the problem is too, as well, is not the Tory party itself, is the fact that it has no opposition, or the opposition that it does have.
There's no one good.
The Labor Party has pretty much rid itself of Jeremy Corbyn and all that all their disciples. So they're been co-opted and whatnot. So really, it's just more of the same. Here's our press secretary talking about the relationship that will not falter with the Brits.
Steve, you cannot fix this. Sorry, Steve.
This is unfixable.
With that, Amr, what's your question? Your first question.
Sure, thank you. With Prime Minister Johnson's resignation today, I know you don't like to get into other countries' politics, but more substantively, what does this mean going forward? Big ally, you basically have a caretaker, lame duck Prime Minister now, but this is a very difficult time in Europe, obviously, and the President's efforts to keep Europe paddling or rowing the same way on Ukraine is top of mind now. Is there any concern that this becomes a little bit more difficult when you have a big partner like Prime Minister Johnson in the position he's in?
So I'll say this, our alliance with the United Kingdom continues to be strong. Our special relationship with the people in the country will continue to endure. None of that changes. And I will remind you just a week ago today, when the president was in NATO, in Madrid, for a historic NATO summit, as you heard him speak at the press conference. And you saw what happened. You saw a reassurance, a reaffirmation of NATO countries saying again what they are going to continue to do, continue to support Ukraine in their effort to defend their democracy against Putin's brutal war. And so that is not going to change. And not only that, you saw a potential expanding of NATO with 2 additional countries, which is incredibly important, something that the president has worked very hard on these last several months, who's also led on this effort. You saw other alliances make a commitment to increase their security assistance. And so all of that, what you're seeing currently today, because of the leadership of this president, is a more unified NATO. And I don't think that changes at all. And you saw him at the G7 in Germany, where you saw him with the G7 leaders, the same. You saw a committed alliance amongst friends, amongst other countries, on everything that they're going to work on together to push America's interests, and also the interest of other countries as we look at the global challenges ahead.
So, fam, more of the same. Nothing's going to change. She said it right there, plain and simple. It's going to be more of the same. And it's just kind of, it's a red herring of sorts, the way they kind of use these other excuses to remove a prime minister, and they're going to do more of the same. When they understand, they know the majority of the people in that country right now are sick and tired of this bullshit war. They went through the Iraq war and the Tony Blair shit. They don't want to deal with this Ukraine stuff again. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's going to suffocate their country, and they're using other reasons to switch them on out for more of the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to see exactly that this isn't about what the British people want. This is about what the NATO alliance and the West and the elite, the predator class want.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the next round of COVID stuff. It might be. Who knows? I don't know. But one of the reasons you asked for it, Angelo, he put this up here, fam. Let's see what really happened to Boris over there. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people felt like, Putin's just getting stronger, getting more support, while guys like this, they're just dropping like flies, fam. Fam, did you see the smile on Putin's face? Come on.
Yeah, well.
God bless memes. And I don't know if you got your bingo card, fam. All right, here we go. Oh, who is next, fam? Who is next? I'm saying it's bottom middle right there. I'm saying it's Justin. That guy's pushed his shit too far. And I think the people are going to take to the streets again when it comes to Justin. Now, the guy right above Justin, he might go. We all know that the guy who should be gone right now is bottom left, hand corner. But, I mean, we're in the United States. And listen, Draghi has to watch out in Italy. I mean, they're going nuts out over there in Italy, too, as well. And Germany, Mr. Schultz over there. The farmers are starting to organize over there as well and push back. So, I mean, fam, I don't know who you got on that bingo card, but Boris is gone. I would have guessed Boris would have been the last one, fam.
I want a full card bingo, where when my family plays that for Christmas, they do the full card. Like, you have to get all of it to win. That's what I want. I want all of them gone. That's a girl can dream.
Fam, there was somebody who was sad that Boris lost his time. That BoJo.
One person that was really upset, and that is Zelensky. Zelensky expresses sadness at Boris Johnson's departure. And I just wanted to mention that because, BoJo has been a very good friend to Zelensky because BoJo has been in line with the foreign policy of Russia, which is why I don't think this has to do anything to do with that necessarily, because like Pasta said, it's going to be the same type of foreign policy after. So we'll figure out. We're going to talk more about that on Monday about what is this? How does it benefit? Who does it benefit? What's going on here? What are the behind the scenes intelligence apparatus thinking now?
I think it could be COVID stuff. I don't know. Maybe
it could be. Maybe. It could be. But I think for me, I just think it's they need somebody that's less like a Trumpian type of character. He was just not. He's just so obvious about a lot of things. But I mean, I don't think there's anything different with him. Beside that, like I think he's definitely not. I think he's definitely a status quo politician. He's definitely not like an outsider. He's just very blunt about everything. And believe it or not, fam, the Brits pay a lot of attention to scandal and that sort of thing. If the media there is so hypocritical. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. Like it's bad. The United States is bad, but the journalism that doesn't exist there either is just as bad as well.
This one is an interesting picture here too, fam, as well, because right to the right of your boy is the Japanese prime minister right now, right? So I mean,
So we need to add an X.
I got not really, but yeah, kind of. I mean, like another blow.
Not really, but yeah.
I mean,
maybe like a question mark.
Maybe.
And then we could add. I would like to add all X's to the left.
Oh Jesus!
Anyway.
I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, these guys are just globalist pieces of crap.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about here. This isn't about the people of England. This is about because you would be addressing, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're going to do for you. First and foremost, no. Boris Johnson gave a statement on his resignation, and his support for Ukraine was the first thing he was talking about before anything relating to the British public. So I said, are they admittedly secondary citizens to Ukraine and NATO's war ambitions? And the answer is yes. That's a rhetorical question. And deeper than that is I think the situation of what we're talking about. What I think this is about is the global agenda. The New World Order, the attempt to expand into a more Western-dominated NATO dominion, and that is equivalent to, the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, this whole world that they're trying to push. And of course, all of that is more important than anything national, because as you can see, there is this globalist agenda happening that has little to do with what the British people want. British people don't want this war. They don't. And so I believe that's a huge part of it. So let's go ahead and just watch this video of what he said.
BoJo, ladies and gentlemen, BoJo.
Say now to the people of Ukraine that I know that we in the UK will continue to back your fight for freedom for as long as it takes.
For as long as it takes. Just like the United States said, we'll do whatever it takes as long as it takes. Yeah. So it seems like the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine is more of a concern for the EU and NATO and the United States than pretty much anything right now. Isn't that weird to people? I mean, they care so much about little Ukraine. No, guys, they don't. They don't.
They never have. And this, we know what this is all about. And this is just, it's crazy that they're still trying to sell this whole situation. Every time the press secretary is asked about anything financial or economic in the United States, it's Putin's war aggression, Ukraine. This is a fight for our freedom as well as theirs. This is just a bunch of malarkey. You know what I'm saying? This has nothing to do with our freedom whatsoever. And also in that speech, fam, he also talked, I think we were the best at standing up to Putin's, aggression in Ukraine. It's like, stop it already. Nobody believes this shit.
No, nobody does. And Putin said, he reminded everybody, I think yesterday earlier today in the speech where he was talking about the United States, the West started this war. He talked about, the coup again. He does it daily. I mean, he reminds people daily. So this is Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, on BoJo and why
is he sad, fam?
No, he's not.
Lavrov's like, please, BoJo, don't leave.
He
don't
says
resign.
some truth here.
Даже не хочется комментировать, потому что Борис Джонсон всей своей деятельностью на посту премьер-министра, да и на посту министра иностранных дел доказал, что это человек, который гонится прежде всего за внешними эффектами, держался за власть ради того, чтобы свою политическую карьеру всячески приподнимать. И во многом последние пару лет Великобритания разворачивала такую агрессивную политику по отношению к Российской Федерации, используя в качестве предлога события на Украине, всячески покрывая режим, который в Киеве сложился при западных кураторах, режим откровенно человеконенавистнический, во многом неонацистский. И эта активность Великобритании резко возросла после того, как Борис Джонсон вывел страну из Европейского Союза, и она оказалась как бы на задворках европейской политики. Сейчас они активнейшим образом пытались в последние месяцы сколотить новый альянс Великобритания, Польша, Прибалтика, Украина, для того, чтобы иметь такой английский плацдарм на континенте и продвигать свою политику, которая наверняка далеко не всегда будет учитывать интересы Европейского Союза в целом. Но ушел и ушел. Видите, все говорили, что надо Россию изолировать, пока его собственная партия изолировала Бориса Джонсона. И даже
All right, fam. I'm so sorry. Just try it again. Wrap it up. Yeah, my bad.
What happened? I'm sorry.
You were muted. You were muted.
So did anybody hear what I just said or no? Oh, okay. Basically what I was saying is that there's a petrol crisis in Ethiopia and South Africa. People have been waiting in long lines just to get oil. And there's also a wheat crisis, and it's all manufactured by the West. So if anything, Russia is laughing at the West because the sanctions aren't stopping Russia from doing anything. Everything that they've been doing has actually backfired, as Pasta said, against them.
Okay. Anything else, fam, for that section?
Nope.
All right, guys. So that's it for that section. Sorry about the last bit there. We got the sound back on now. All right. Everybody can hear us? Cool. Let's get this rolling. I got a couple more super rays before we get to the next section, guys. It's a loaded show today. That was the BoJo story. We opened up. Prime ministers, fam, having a hard week. Prime ministers are having a hard freaking week.
I'm telling you, it was a marmot.
And we're gonna get the marmot. It's that collider, fam. I'm telling you, it screwed everything up. The marmot got in there, killed the guide stones. Crazy stuff's going on. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna read a couple super rays. We'll get on to the next section. We got 2 more sections left. We just talked about the hard week for the prime ministers, BoJo, and the former prime minister of Japan has been killed. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his wounds and he bled out. Shinzo Abe is no longer with us, and Boris Johnson is on his way out. He's a lame duck prime minister. Will be out in a couple months as they figure out who they're getting in next, which replacement for BoJo will take place. Hopefully, it won't be Priti Patel, because that would be a double whammy. Mad Wolf, thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. How is it in other countries people have the balls to kick out their government leaders, and we act like if government of and for and by the people means that we can't do anything and have to accept what the government does to us? Because at this point, Republican, Democrat are one and the same. Guess we're too blind and stupid to see it. And Mad Wolf, you're right. That is the number one problem right now. We are so fucking split. Anytime anybody gets to the streets, it's always one side versus the other, right? If you just look back at the whole situation, January 6th was about stop the steal. It was all people protesting against elections. We know. We went there. That was one side. Roe v. Wade. They went to the streets. They were upset. That was just one side. Those are the reasons why people go to the streets. It's always team sports. It's never together. What we see going around the world right now is people going, okay, Republican, Democrat, liberal, Republican, conservative, whatever, come together when it's about us versus them, meaning the oligarchs versus the people. And that's something we need to pull off. I think the ruling class is laughing at us because we are so easily divided in this country. That is the biggest problem. That is the biggest problem we have. Matt Wolf also says, fam, I guess Putin needs to be made into a saint and put on a candle. What do you think?
No, we shouldn't sanctify anybody.
Except for me.
No, especially you. You already have a big ego, so.
I should be sanctified. I do not have a big ego. I am as humble as pie. Fam.
Sure.
Fam, let's get to this next story because this one is one of my favorite ones to talk about. I'm glad you loaded it up because when we see this here, you know, we know what it's like to go to another country. And when the people are revolting or they want to make a change and they're out in the streets and the music they're playing and the passion and just being engulfed in that is amazing, fam. What do we got going on in Europe?
Okay, so the Dutch farmers have been protesting for a while now, right? They've been protesting against basically the attempt to just control all of the food supply, the attempt to just take over the expenses, just the inept, corrupt government. And they broke into this Dutch Air Force base and took a fighter jet to protest the government's tyranny. We should go Dutch. We really should. And that saying normally means, you pay half and half, you split the bill. But what I mean by that this time is we should learn something from them, because they have been really going at this. And this is just like the first bit of stuff that I'm showing here. Like I said, I would like to interview people that are actually there on the ground in these protests. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at the video of them protesting here. These are the farmers protesting.
They say it's a matter of time, 1,000 days and the sun won't shine before I come back to you. And I'm happy, nothing's going to stop me. I'm making my way home. I'm making my way home. With love, I will go far. I wanna be wherever you are.
So,
fam.
So I just want to like give some more context. So there's this nitrogen pollution that the Dutch government wants to reduce. And so they want to reduce herds, and that would force many Dutch farmers out of business. And it would have to, cut back on pork, on meat, on poultry and dairy products from human consumption. And the government is seeking to eliminate about a third of this consumption via eliminating a third of the farms. So that would be like 50,000 farms by 2030. And so that is what they're protesting. Now, this is completely opposed to the whole green agenda that the World Economic Forum is pushing for, because see, the way these people push for it is they say, oh, you poor person need to stop, driving so much, or you poor person need to recycle more, and you need to turn your lights off, or you need to do this, or they attack the food consumption area under this pretense of green and environmentalism. And we know it's not about that, because they are still flying their jets. They still have their big yachts. They're the ones that have all this consumption, but they look at you as being the problem. And so the Dutch farmers then started blocking supermarkets, started blocking roads, started stopping these food distribution centers in a way to protest, right? And the shelves became bare, and then they were continuing to protest this whole time. And so Bill Gates happens to be the largest private owner of farmland in the United States, and also in general. I mean, he's expanded, right, fam?
Well, what's going on is that this move right here is going to shut down the small farmer. This is about consolidating food supplies and wealth into bigger companies. He just made a huge investment in an online a grocery store of sorts that's going to do a lot of delivering. It's really big. It's called Picnic, I believe. It's 600 million. So as they're pushing through these reforms that are going to crush the small farmer, and then all the big companies are going to come up and swallow everything up, Bill Gates is set to make billions of dollars in the future. That's why he made this investment. And a lot of people are jumping on this story right now. And I think you're going to see a lot of people that we know kind of dive into what's going on over here, because this is really something that's crazy that's going on. Yes, Bill Gates is behind what the farmers are protesting for in the Netherlands. It's nuts. Yeah. And he's behind a lot of things. And it's not a conspiracy, because Bill Gates has come out and actually addressed and said, oh, this is just a conspiracy. The conspirators talking about this, the tinfoil hat guys. So, yeah, I mean, he's not, he's a huge part of it. I mean, he's not the only one, but he's a large part of it. Now, the next video we can play, I believe this is about more of the protests. This is from Mark Lubers. He said, early morning tomorrow, the largest protests in Dutch history are expected as farmers, truckers, fishermen, and several other
groups have planned to lock down this entire country of the Netherlands. We don't know what to expect yet, but it'll be big. So this is just a picture that from the 3rd that you guys can see how big that is, right? And
Loopers!
yes, Lubers. And so the next video is another video that I wanted to show. Let's see. Let me see if I can.
Oz has it right here. It's on the
I know he has it, but I wanted to.
Oz, can we get the full picture of it or no? You can't open it up a little bit.
Okay, just play it.
There you go. Dude, these guys bought themselves a tank.
So this is the German farmers, too. So there's German farmers, Dutch, Italian, Polish, and Germans, all protesting now. By the way, this is happening. So they're all starting to do this. And again, this is of course before we go into this winter where they're not going to have gas, and the wheat crisis just gets even worse. And the price of electricity, like I've been talking about, is out of control. They're in crises right now, absolute crisis. So that's what's happening in that video. And the next one is the food shortage that is just beginning. So this is in the Netherlands. Again, there is a colossal food shortage in the Netherlands. In almost all cities, you can see such empty shelves. In supermarkets, farmers refuse to deliver food to stores due to mass protests. So on top of the wheat shortages and everything that's happening, the farmers are protesting because of everything I just said. So let's just play the video.
Things are about to get crazy, fam.
Mm-hmm.
Things are about to get crazy. I don't know. How many times can the ruling class just tape stuff up and keep it going? Right? Their gig is up. People know it's and I just like to take up. First off, I think it was the Australian truckers who stood up, the Canadian truckers who stood up. Now the farmers are standing up. The fucking cab drivers in Italy are surrounding PM's personal residence. This is amazing. And when Mad Wolf asked the question, why can't people in America do the same? I don't know, but I hope they get some inspiration over here, because enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Alrighty. So the next video I believe we're on is the politicians partying while the protests happening. So these protests are happening in the Netherlands, right? And these politicians decide that they're going to party and just wait till these people get hungry. They're listening to Spice Girls.
And they don't even care. They don't even care. Wow.
I want to really take a sick.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. They don't even care, man. That dude right there.
You know what they want? What they really, really want, guys?
Man, what?
They want to fucking kill all of you. That's what they want. People are going to freaking man, I hope we take a cue from the French Revolution. That's all I'm saying.
This tweet is amazing.
Alistair Milne said, UK government falling apart, huge protests in Netherlands, Germany running a trade deficit for the first time since the 90s, euro at a 20-year low versus dollar. That'll teach Putin.
That'll teach Putin.
That'll teach Putin. Tweet of the week. I mean, just encompasses it all. Like, this is what, and that's the thing, guys. I don't think this is just, yes, some of these idiots really believe they're bullshit and think that'll teach Putin. But this is an attack on you, on the people, the working classes of the European Union, the working classes of the United Kingdom, the working classes of the United States. They don't care what happens to all of you, everybody that belongs to that. They don't care. As long as the war continues, these idiots will be fine. And that's the reality. And as long as they can make the people become dependent on the system and demand, be asking for handouts. And I don't say handouts in the same way, a conservative says it, but they want you dependent on the system so they can manipulate you. And that's what we're seeing here. And honestly, people are rising up, and a lot of this isn't sticking anymore like it used to. It's not, their plan isn't going as I think they wanted it to.
Fam, this last tweet over here is something they just mentioned before. Like they said, and I think the Canadian convoy got some love, got some inspiration for some of the Australian truckers that were ready to stand up. I mean, it's a small snowball effect. And right now, the truckersforfreedom.com, the guys who made the movie, their website was having problems. They made a documentary on what went on. Check out truckersforfreedom.com. And they're breaking it up in a mini docu-series into 6 documentaries, fam. Little small 45-minute movies. I wanted to watch the second one that was released, and they're censoring it. So mad censorship is on the way. The government, while they have control of big tech, and they will have it for a while, I'm saying, unless something changes, they're going to continue to manipulate, put out their propaganda, demonetize, and censor, fam. So yeah, if you wanted to read the tweet, did we read the tweet already or no?
No, I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Okay, so this guy Keen Bexty said, wow, a Dutch protester tells me that the Canadian Freedom Convoy inspired these farmers to rise up and fight for freedom. Again, it doesn't matter, what you thought of the protest. And that's the thing, like these morons that were like, oh, this is a right-wing Nazi. And they're cheering the Dutch protesters. They're like, oh, it's so base. Look how they're fighting the government. They were inspired by these supposed right-wing Nazis. Like, come on, guys, that wasn't a right-wing Nazi protest. It was a protest against the establishment. Yes, some of these people may have had different, more, right-leaning or conservative or libertarian, whatever views they might have had. But it doesn't matter because they were fighting the establishment. They were against these mandatory vaccinations. And if you look at any more tyrannical type of government, Canada is one of them. Canada is one of the worst. Trudeau has to go. But now, now you see, I mean, it's one person's, of course, opinion, but at the same time, don't be fooled, of course, because things don't happen overnight. Things don't just happen out of nothing. There are things that have to happen, movements, protests that have to happen to lead to this moment. The problem, as Pasta said earlier in the show in the United States, is that we're fighting for team sports issues, social symbolics, rather than economic issues. And the United States, more than anybody, any government in the West, has to understand that the only thing that's going to really be able to unite the people of the United States is when you address economics. That's just it right now. That's what it is. And anything else is a distraction. It's a class struggle right now.
It's us versus the oligarchs. The only way to look at it. Guys, almost 100 people kind of over on the Rokfin. We got 99 on the nose.
I got 99 problems.
But Boris Johnson ain't one. There's 100. Fam, anything else on that section? Because we have a nice Super A contribution from Teresa Alland. It says, Mayawen or Mayawen. Meyaahwen. Mayowen.
Don't you just love having Pasta read these Super Rays?
Damn, I hate you. Thank you to everybody watching up on the YouTubes too as well. This is the last section for the day. Fam, I literally got text on my phone saying, why haven't we covered this story? Monday, we're having Kit Clarenberg on, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with Boris Johnson behind the scenes, the CIA, the real reasons on why we want to get rid of Boris Johnson, not the bullshit that the mainstream media is telling us. On Friday, we're going to have on Garland Nixon, who will talk a little bit more about police protocols and police violence because he's an ex-law enforcement officer. So we'll dive into it deeply. So stories that we're talking about this week, and especially today, will be kind of continuing on to go a little bit deeper dive next week. Jalen Walker, probably everybody heard about this. The 25-year-old Jalen Walker was shot 60 times by Akron police, fam. In fact, they said there was about over 90 shots fired. There was 8 police officers. Each one of them released about an average of 12. They emptied the clip, which is 96 bullets. 60 of them hit him. So I wanted to have a discussion about this here. What we know about the fatal police shooting of Jalen Walker. And we peeled this right off CNN, so we know we're not using any biased information whatsoever. So here it is. What we know about the fatal police shooting of Jalen Walker. So let's take a look at what's going on. Let's unpack it after, and let's have a little conversation about it.
602 on West on Wilbus, Firestone, can I get in?
They attempted to stop him. He was in a silver Buick, but he drove away.
Kim had a good tweet about this. I was trying to find it.
After several minutes, Walker's vehicle slowed and he exited the car and ran. So here's the body cam. You can see with the gun out, running after him. You're screaming, yell. Now, I do want to point out that he did fire out the window, or they're saying he fired out the window. Officers got out of the patrol and chased him. Eventually, they killed the 25-year-old, and you can see as soon as one lets out, they all let out, and they haven't stopped. A medical examiner's report found that Walker suffered at least 60 wounds as a result of the gunfire. There were 8 police officers emptying their clip. Walker was unarmed at the time of the shooting. However, they found a gun on his seat. This is the police. They believe he fired the gun from his vehicle during the car chase, and that's what we're seeing on the screen.
That changes the whole nature of the traffic stop. It went from being a routine traffic stop to now a public safety issue.
There, the police saw a gun found on Walker's vehicle after the shooting. The Ohio Bureau of the Criminal Investigations is investigating the incident. The city of Akron declared the state of emergency and issued a curfew, and widespread protests followed the shooting. Can't see. 8 police officers who were directly involved in the shooting have been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. There you go. So, fam, here we go. Let's just dive right into the article, and then we'll break it down. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. The city of Akron, Ohio is on the edge of the 4th of July, 1 week of the fatal shooting of the 25-year-old Jalen Walker. A news conference by city officials Sunday, along with the release of 13 police body camera videos, at least they had them on, has started to paint a fuller picture of the shooting, which police say they happened when Walker, who is black, fled and attempted a traffic stop early on June 27th. Walker was unarmed at the time he was killed. Akron Police Chief Stephen Mellett told reporters a gun was found in Walker's vehicle after shooting, police said, and officers said Walker fired a gun from his vehicle during the car chase. Now, he did have a ski mask on. I understand a lot of people are saying, oh, this is about COVID and the mask and blah, blah, blah. This was halfway through the article. It says Walker was wounded about 60 times, the chief says. A medical examiner report found Walker suffered at least 60 wounds as a result of a gunfire, Milet said Sunday. Though the medical examiner is still working to determine which are entrance wounds and which are exit wounds. That's crazy when they have to determine which entrance and which exit. That's just nuts. The BCI will determine exactly how many times Walker was shot, Milet said. In the meantime, it remains unclear how many rounds were fired, though Milet said he anticipates the number will be high based on the videos in which dozens of gunshots were heard over 7 seconds. A lot of rounds were fired, the chief said, fam. So I don't know what your initial thoughts are on this whole situation. I do want to point out that we've been talking. This is why I'm eager to get Garland on, that it is protocol to empty your clip when you start firing. I don't know if that's protocol everywhere, but it's something I want to talk about because we've had several situations since then in which they've just emptied the clip, fam, which says a lot about police officing in America. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to, I didn't get a chance to put it up, but I just want to put something up because Kim quote tweeted Jack Posobiec. Because Jack Posobiec tweeted, Akron officials released video of Jalen Walker shooting at the police from his car. Of course, he tweeted that because every single time that this happens, there's always like somebody on the right saying, oh, see, he was a danger to the cops. Okay. So then she said, I see he shot at them. I understand this happened, but I still don't understand riddling him with 60 bullets. And now we're saying that might be more, right? 8 cops emptied their clips. You talked about it's protocol for a cop to empty his clip. Okay, 8 cops empty their clips, but why? But why isn't the protocol for only one designated shooter? You have 8 cops on one guy, even if he is a designated shooter. How? And I have to go back to this because for me, it's like, how does this guy get 60 bullets and the guy that just killed a bunch of people gets like literally just arrested passive? I just don't. It happens all the time. And you can't tell me that it's, oh, well, it was a different situation. And dude, man, like if that's your protocol for one shooter, then why don't I see that happening to the mass shooters? Why do they get apprehended and get walked into custody and live? I just don't, I have a hard time. And then the only difference is usually there's a class difference and there's definitely almost an ethnic difference. And so while I don't always say that it's a race issue, in this case, to me, this is over excess, at the very least, over excess of police, because I think 8 cops emptying their clips is a little much, right? And so Kim was responding because a lot of her, the people that follow her are, more libertarian leaning and conservative. So they were like not agreeing with her tweet. And she said, per the responses, the guy was running away. It wasn't a gunfight. 2, I know it's a magazine because they criticized her that it was a magazine, you effing gun nuts. Have you ever heard the slang term empty the clip? And so, there's always these opinions where people go on either end of the spectrum. But what I'm seeing is, was it necessary to use that much of a force on one guy who was running away versus, yes, he shot at them, but he was running away. And then you have to say, well, if I'm a person of a certain group that gets shot at all the time, like you're always going to have that questioning. So I just think it's ridiculous to say it's okay for a cop to shoot somebody 60 times, even if they shot back at them, because you have 8 cops doing it.
Yeah.
It's not just one cop. You have 8 cops now. And this isn't like the first time this happens, right? This happens constantly. And I think people need to stop being hypocrites. Like if you're going to have a protocol, have that protocol be for everybody then you can't just pick and choose when you use that protocol. And that's my biggest issue with the right when it comes to these situations, is that they tend to say, well, the cop feared for his life. And it's like, well, what about in other situations where you have a mass shooter? Where like, it's just, to me, it's a little ridiculous in my opinion.
Well, I mean, first off, man, this is just like, sometimes I hate talking about this because I do have another clip of another mass shooting, not a mass shooting, but another police violent shooting coming on, one that happened almost like a day and a half after in West Virginia. But, we always have these conversations. Well, is it racially motivated? Is it class motivated? Do we need to get rid of guns? What's going on? But at the end of the day, if you have a society, right? And this is what we're not talking about. We're not talking about why mental illness is really taking over a lot of young men and women in this country, why it's put them in a position to go and commit crimes. If you have a society that does not provide enough opportunity, it will produce more crime and you're going to have more killings. That is the situation which I can't understand why we're not looking at. Why are we looking at the overall economic situation, which is leaving so many people out to dry where they don't feel like they have an opportunity to do things? I mean, he had a gun in the passenger seat, a ski mask. What was he doing? Why are there so many people put in that situation? All right. Because like I said, if you don't have a society, if you have a society that doesn't provide opportunity, it's going to produce more violence. That's the way it goes. So, I mean, the protocols of emptying a clip, I don't understand that. I need to get more clarity from Garland Nixon on why they do that. Why is it protocol to empty your clip? What's going on? So I think we need to start talking about the bigger picture, what produces crimes, why we have these situations, and work on that. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened in West Virginia. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a warning. If you don't want to see a shooting and it can be disturbing, be careful, because this is what happened in West Virginia almost a day and a half later.
Is a cop shooting somebody?
Oh, yeah. Cops.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What's that? Is he should be
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, they lit him up. They lit him up like a Christmas tree. Like, you know, that was and people have said that, Oz. That's what they're saying. If he was black, he'd have been killed by now. Should he have been thankful for the last 40 seconds of his life that I'm going to die by mass shooting over here from police officers? They lit him up like a Christmas tree. The last shot of it, he got hit right in the fucking head. It was really disgusting. Police identify man and fatal officer involved shooting in Beckley. They don't have a lot of information on this. There's not a lot of articles out there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, but this is what I was able to grab. While the West Virginia State Police investigation continues into the officer-involved shooting that occurred on Wednesday in Bradley, the name of the man involved has been released. The suspect has been positively identified as Matthew Scott Jones, 36, of Culpeper, Virginia, according to a new release by a Captain R.A. Matty, Deputy Chief of Staff of the West Virginia State Police. At this time, no information, further information will be released. This is what happened. The initial calls received about 9:47 a.m. Wednesday reported an armed suspect fleeing from a crash scene off the Dry Hill Road in Raleigh County, according to a press release issued by Captain R.A. Matty, Deputy Chief of the State of Staff for the West Virginia State Police. The suspect then stole a truck reported as being blue in color and fled in an unknown direction, Matty said. A short time earlier, the suspect was located at Big Lots near the Raleigh Mall in a stolen vehicle. The suspect refused to stop for the officer and pursuit ensued, leading into Fayette County and back into the Bradley area of Raleigh County. The pursuit ended when the vehicle became disabled off the Route 19 in Bradley, Matty stated. The armed suspect exited the vehicle and was engaged by law enforcement. During the standoff, the suspect continued to brandish a handgun, resulting in gunfire from law enforcement, costing the suspect death. Matty said the investigation remains active and ongoing. You can see he was very frustrated. He was upset. He was mentally disturbed. He kept on putting the gun near his mouth like he was going to kill himself. And then they unloaded the clip and he was gone. So the question is, at the end of the day, and I think we do get sometimes caught up on whether it was racially motivated or not. I wouldn't disagree with a lot of people that if he was black, he would have got killed a lot quicker, right? I'm not going to even disagree with that. But still, at the end of the day, they unloaded on this kid like a Christmas tree. Like they just lit him up like a Christmas tree. Okay, we need to start analyzing why so many young men and women are disturbed, why they are resulting in going to crime, why they are so mentally ill. What are we putting into their bodies? What are we feeding them mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards, and start analyzing why this has become such an issue. You know, and the protocols from the police, we have militarized our police up the yin-yang, fam. We gave them military-grade weapons. So when you get that mentality and you have that kind of those protocols, of course they're going to act this way. We have a very serious issue in this country. But fam, I want to know your opinions on that. That is what we experienced a couple days after Jalen's death. Another kid just getting lit up.
Jalen's shooting. Yeah, I mean, both of these are. But I mean, it's not just mental illness. That's just mental illness, and we need to ask why. It's the system. The system is creating this poverty. It's creating this self-fulfilling prophecy. If, for example, I'm a person that's either poor, whether I'm white or black, I'm more likely to suffer from mental illness because I don't have all the things that I need. If I'm a person that is told that, oh, we're a bunch of lazy, and then we don't work and blah blah blah, and then you're in the situation where you feel like you're a victim of society and the society isn't fair, then you're going to try to get even to survive in the system, and you might resort to crime because you're like, well, this is what they call me, a criminal anyway, so I'm going to become one. And so then you have this whole thing. So I don't think it's a matter of a question why people are like this. We know why people are like this because this is what this system has created. And so instead of talking about it in terms of, oh, these people are just sick people, it's like, well, maybe the system itself is what's making people sick. And so I think that's what it is. And I think it's always a class and it's definitely sometimes a race issue. I'm not going to tell people that have experienced this their whole lives that it's not. I'm just not going to do that because I've seen it. But it's also a class issue because poor people have a less of an ability to defend themselves, whether they're black or white. And it doesn't matter. And they tend to fall in these through these cracks of the system. They tend to be in jail more. They tend to have records. They tend to have all of this. And that's what it comes down to. When you go to a prison, you will see the statistics. And it's not going to be wealthier or upper middle class people that are in the prison system, no, regardless of color, right? But it's going to be overwhelmingly the working class. And of course, we do know that they basically turned the prison system into the new slave system because that's what the United States is. It's the biggest prison holder in the entire world. And so, yeah, you're right. We need to look at the bigger picture, but we can't just ignore. I think, looking at the bigger picture, you can't ignore what's actually happening because what people see is what's happening in front of them. What needs to happen is that people need to realize this is both a class and a racial issue, obviously, but you're not going to the people that are very much questioning the government, right? And it could be the right, could be libertarian, whatever you consider yourself, I don't really care. But if you're questioning the government and then at every single time you bootlick for the police state, as if the police, are this sort of entity that is protecting you, you need to understand the police protect property, the police protect the state. The police don't protect you. Whatever you consider yourself, an anarchist, libertarian, a left, I don't give a shit. The police don't protect you. They are there to protect the interests of the state and the interest of the predator class. So if you're going to talk about this global elite of tyranny, and then you're going to go bootlick the police every chance you get, like the vast majority of these grifters that go online and find any excuse to be on the side of the police every single time, you go back to the whole team sports mentality. Because at the end of the day, the entities that are going to ensure that you obey the laws of the corrupt state and the oligarchy are the fucking cops. Absolutely. They are an extension of the national security state apparatus. They are their pawns or minions. And if you advocate for them and for this type of behavior, regardless of what you think, if they feared for their life or not, they're heavily militarized police. They do not. I am here in Russia right now, and I'm telling you, the police here do not have the same equipment that the American police have. I feel safer around these people carrying weapons and looking at me through security than I do anytime I'm near a cop in the United States. I have seen what the cops have done in the United States. We have bared witness to what they have done to journalists, pointed guns at them. You can't tell me that there's not a problem with the police. So But the police is an entity, a smaller entity of the bigger picture, which is the national security state and the government. So, I mean, yes. So if you want to defund the police in that sense, you have also on the other end, you have to look at the bigger picture, the Pentagon, you have to look at the military, you have to look at everything. And this is precisely why you do not, leftist, give up your Second Amendment. Because unless you want people to continue to die at the hands of the state, you don't give up your Second Amendment at all, period, end of story. Because this is going to continue. And it's going to get worse. Once people start revolting more, believe me, it's just, they're going to ensure what the state wants, period.
370 people watching over on the YouTubes, 105 watching over on the Rokfin. We have a great, beautiful 475 person, almost 500 person crowd on a Friday when you maniacs can be out playing around in the sun and the sand. You're out here and you're over here hanging out with us.
Yeah, I could be out in Moscow having my Moscow nights, my Moscow mule and all that. It's 11:40 here.
Yeah.
But I'm here with you.
See, fam? They're showing the love the way you're showing the love. Geography Pro, thank you for the super great contribution. It is Elisa. Appreciate it on the couch. And that was for you, Steve. Go get him, Glory. Geography Pro also says, I will have an answer for why Cremo is taken alive and why Jayland wasn't. FBI connection. One was connected and the other wasn't. I think something that's not talked about why a lot of these mass shooters are taken alive is because they want to make sure that they're put up on display for the system and they have the trial, whatnot, and all this other BS. And so
guys,
I think that's
if you're going to be a criminal, be a mass shooter.
Yeah.
Because that's the way this fucked up system works in the United States. Yay.
It's all about we wanted dead or alive, but we took them alive. The cops took them alive. It's more of the glorification for the cops in that situation. You know what I'm saying? We took him in, so he'll pay the justice. We don't want him off the chain that easy. We want to make sure he suffers in a prison. Guys, Monday we'll be back. Kit, K-I-T, Clarenberg. Okay. He will be with us. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with BoJo, CIA connections, and everything behind the scenes, right, fam? Next week is Freedom Fest, so there'll be a lot of people in town on the freedom movement, and we'll be able to speak to a lot of them to see what's going on. I'm going to go out and try to hound Glenn Greenwald, Andrew Yang, Rand Paul, amongst many other people.
Your favorite libertarians?
Some of my favorite libertarians. I'm going to get in the face of some of them. Olivia Rondeau is in town. Misty Winston, she's in town. She'll be on the AM Wake Up Show on Wednesday when she gets into town. I was on her show the other day doing a whole thing on an hour spot on elections, talking about what happened in Colombia, what's going on in the global South, what's going on with our elections. So you can check that out. That's on TNT Radio. Go look for Mincy Winston's part. So, and Friday, we will have Garland Nixon in the house to talk more about, policing, these shootings and whatnot. He's always great. He's our number one guy when it comes to that situation. Glad to finally have him back on. He'll be back on Friday, fam. So that's what's going on.
Great. Sounds good, guys.
So you guys know the deal. Oh, one more snuck right in there. Richard Salembo. How you doing, Richie? Paisan. His name is Richard, but I call him Dick. Thank you so much for the Super 8 contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch, fam. I want to spend a special thank you out to our members over here who have subscribed on Rokfin. Guys, if you can go ahead and do it for $9.99 a month, please do so. You'll get our premium content along with everybody else's premium content on the platform across the board for that one low price of $9.99. But go there, sign up with the CONVO couch. Tell them Pasta and Fee sent you.
Sending a special shout out to Trey Wright because I heard he had a rough day. So sending all the love to Trey because he's not here today. And I know that's weird because he's always here. So love to Trey Wright. We love you here very much.
You know what I'll do? I'll sing him a song by Wilson Phillips.
You should sing The Greatest Love of All to Trey. I told you that.
By Whitney?
Yes.
No, Trey would like, if you go, things will go your way. If you hold on.
Oh my God.
For one more day.
I think of Bridesmaids when I hear this.
Hold on for one more day.
All right, I think we're done here, guys. I love you guys very much, but pasta I can only handle for
go your way. Trey, if you hold on for one more tray. Hold on for one more tray. See you Monday, everybody.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye. Hold on for one more tray. Things will go your way. Hold on for one more day. Please take me out. Why you let me do this? You're killing me.
Oh my God.